The Zebra murders were a string of racially motivated murders that took place in San Francisco, California, from October 1973 to April 1974. A group of male black Muslims who called themselves the Death Angels committed at least 15 murders and 8 attempted murders, mostly against white victims. However, some authorities believe they may have killed as many as 73 or more victims. Criminology professor Anthony Walsh wrote how the San Francisco-based Death Angels may have killed more people in the early to mid-1970s than all the other serial killers operating during that period combined. Police named the case Zebra after the special police radio band they assigned for the investigation. In 1974, 4 men, Manuel Moore, Larry Green, Jessie Lee Cooks, and J.C.X. Simon, were arrested in connection with the case. They were convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy charges and sentenced to life imprisonment. First wave of murders, 1973. On October 19, 1973, Richard Haig, 30, and his wife, Keita, 28, were strolling near their Telegraph Hill home when they were kidnapped by a group of black men and forced into a van. Keita was fondled by 2 men and then nearly decapitated by a third with a machete. One of the men who had fondled Keita then similarly hacked Richard and left him for dead, but he survived. 10 days later, on October 29, Frances Rose, 28, was repeatedly shot by a man who blocked her car's path and demanded a ride, as she was driving up to the entrance gate of the University of California Extension. On November 9, a 26-year-old gas company clerk, Robert Stokeman, was assaulted by another man but was able to take the gun away and fire back. The attacker, Leroy Doctor, was later arrested and convicted of assault with a deadly weapon. Salim Sami Erekat, a 53-year-old Jordanian Arab Muslim, was bound and shot dead in the restroom of his grocery store on November 25. On December 11, Paul Danzig, a 26-year-old artist, was shot 3 times in the chest by a man as he was preparing to make a telephone call at a payphone. During the same evening, Marietta Di Girolamo, 31, was walking along Divisadero Street when she was shoved into a doorway by a man and shot twice in the chest. The shots spun her around and struck her once in the back, killing her. On December 20, Angela Roselli, not her real name, a 20-year-old college student, was shot 3 times near her apartment by one of 2 men. She survived, although one bullet nicked her spine. An 81-year-old janitor, Ilario Bertuccio, was shot that same evening while walking on his way home from work in the Bayview district. He died almost instantly after 4 shots to the shoulder and chest. On December 22, 2 more victims died within 6 minutes of each other. Neil Moynihan, 19, was killed while walking near Civic Center while doing his Christmas shopping. A man had walked in front of him and shot him in the face, neck, and heart. The killings resumed a week later on December 28, 1973, with 5 more shootings. Reaction. The murders caused widespread panic in San Francisco. People attempted to find safety in numbers whenever they went out or, as much as possible, avoided going out at night. In reaction, an increased police presence was ordered throughout the city. The police were baffled by the apparent lack of motive in the killings. Brutality and an apparent lack of remorse on the part of the gunman marked the attacks. Based on what was initially known about the killings, there was a common pattern. In a hit-and-run shooting, the gunman would walk up to his victim, shoot the victim repeatedly at close range, and flee on foot. Another link to the shootings was the killer's preference for a .32 caliber pistol, based on the slugs recovered from the victims and the shell casings found at the crime scenes. As a result, a special task force was formed to try to solve and stop the murders. led by detectives Gus Carreras and John Fotinos. San Francisco Police Chief Donald Scott assigned the Z police radio frequency for their exclusive use. Since the letter Z is known in common phonetic use as zebra, the group became known as the Zebra Task Force, and the murders became known as the Zebra Murders. Second wave of murders, April 1974. On April 1, 1974, two Salvation Army cadets were walking toward the Mayfair Market just 2 blocks away from the Salvation Army School for Officers Training Center when a black man who was following them overtook them, wheeled around, fired 4 shots at them, and fled. Thomas Rainwater, 19, died. Linda Story, 21, survived. 2 policemen were on the scene within 15 seconds, and although a manhunt was initiated in an effort to find the killer, it proved to be futile. They suspected that the zebra killers had struck again, as the shell casings found on the sidewalk were found to be from a .32 caliber gun. On Easter Sunday, 13 days after the Rainwater Story shootings, 2 more people, Ward Anderson, a merchant seaman, and Terry White, a 15-year-old student, were both shot and wounded as they stood at a bus stop at the corner of Fillmore and Hayes Streets. Their attacker was a black man who approached the corner on foot and then fled after firing. On the evening of April 16, 23-year-old Nelson T. Shields IV, heir to a wealthy DuPont executive, accompanied a friend to a house on Vernon Street in the Ingleside district to pick up a rug. Reaction. The new wave of murders brought the city to a state of shock as people took the same precautions as they had when the first wave took place. The city took a beating economically as tourists stayed away. Streets were deserted at night. Even in North Beach, a neighborhood known to have a 7-nights-a-week nightlife, police decided to take drastic measures. Inspector Gus Carreras dictated generic suspect descriptions with the best-known characteristics of the killers to SFPD sketch artist Hobart Hobie Nelson, who drew 2 sketches based on the descriptions. This provoked vocal and widespread criticism from the black community. Dr. Washington Garner, the first black member of the police commission, called for blacks to be understanding of the exceptional circumstances. Arrests and convictions. With the offer of a $30,000 reward came a break in the Zebra case. Harris revealed the existence of the group to the police, and told them of a homicide that did not make the papers. It was that of a homeless man whom they had kidnapped from Ghirardelli Square. They had brought the man to Black Self-Help Moving's warehouse, gagged and tied him up, and while he was still conscious, took turns hacking away his limbs. Harris told the detectives that they had dumped the body into the bay. He told his story in such detail that the police were convinced of its veracity, especially since the police had, on the previous December 24th, recovered the bound and badly butchered torso of a male, missing its hands, feet and head, that had washed up in the city's Ocean Beach district at the foot of Pacheco Street. On May 1, 1974, simultaneous raids during the pre-dawn hours were made, resulting in the arrests of Larry Craig Green and J.C.X. Simon in an apartment building at 844 Grove Street. More suspects were arrested at Black Self-Help Moving and Storage's facility. No one offered resistance when arrested. Trial. The trial started on March 3, 1975. Efforts by the defense to discredit Harris were unsuccessful and he revealed many grisly details over 12 days of testimony. In addition, the Zebra team presented evidence of a .32 caliber Beretta automatic pistol that was recovered from the backyard of a home near the scene of the last murder. They were able to demonstrate the chain of ownership of the gun to one of the workers at Black Self-Help and that the gun had been used in many of the murders. Based on the testimony of 108 witnesses, including Harris, 8,000 pages totaling 3.5 million words worth of transcripts, and culminating in what was then the longest criminal trial in California history. Larry Green, J.C.X., Simon, Manuel Moore, and Jessie Lee Cooks were convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder after an 18-hour deliberation by the jury in 1976. Each was sentenced to life imprisonment. Aftermath. On March 12, 2015, J.C.X. Simon, aged 69, was found unresponsive in his cell at San Quentin Prison, where he had been serving a life sentence with the possibility of parole since 1976. He was declared dead of unknown causes, pending an autopsy.